Hi, this is Jason Fielder with the Daily Forex Report for December 2nd. Let's take a look at the U.S.-Japanese yen pair. We had a overextended trade that was triggered at the end of this bar. There was only 13 pips worth of movement, and it did retrace that fairly quick. Now, I am looking for this pair during this next session to move between 94.62 on the high side, on the low side 91.62. We formed closed down, formed a doji bar today. Definitely could look for a breakout to the downside, but we'll just have to wait and see for that particular trade. Now, the Euro USD pair, this pair moved higher today. I'm expecting it to move between 128.62 on the high side, on the lower side 124.35. Now this pair, of course, almost mirrored the highs and the lows. The open and the closes of yesterday's session. It did move lower and higher, but closed at those points. Now I am expecting this pair to continue sideways. If you notice, if we zoomed out a little bit, for the most part, this pair has been moving sideways for a good amount of time. If you take a look at this, the ranges, they're pretty much the same. That we've broken through on the high during this session, but pulled back and closed lower. Same thing with this session, and these two sessions closed and then opened and moved lower, pretty much at the same level. We have similar situation on the downside, so we're trading within this resistance and support with this pair, and we could see it consolidate more by moving higher and then lower, or we could see it move lower to around this point and then move higher again. We'll just have to wait and see. I am expecting this pair, though, to run into some resistance around 1.2774 and look for support to come in around 1.2600 for this pair. Well, let's take a look at the pound US dollar. This particular pair I'm expecting to move within a range of 1.5189 and on the lower side 1.4593. Now look for some resistance to come in around 1.5050 and look for support to come in around 1.4774 for this particular pair. This pair is moving sideways as well. The range is a little bit higher, not as uniformed as the euro, but it is moving sideways for the most part. I'd have to see a close below this low or above this high for true direction to be taken at that point. Now let's take a look at the well, actually, real quick, we had a overextended trade in this particular pair at the close of this session. So we sold short at the open, and that was at 1.4882, basically 1 pip below the close here. And we looked for the low to be taken out using a 1-to-1 reward to risk ratio, and that brought us to an exit of 1.4806, potential profit of 76 pips, and that is indeed what occurred. Now, if you look on the hour time frame, the hour charts, the market did pull back. It pulled back within roughly 20 pips of stopping us out, but then pulled back down and went ahead and pushed to the lows of the day before pulling back and retracing for the rest of the session. But that's a quick, even with the spread, you're looking at 72 pips worth of profit in this quick little trade. So those overextended trades can be quite profitable and worth noting. Now let's take a look at the US Swiss pair. This particular pair moved lower overall today but closed even, forming a doji bar. We do have a session or range that we're looking for of 1.2184 on the lower side, 1.1921. Now look for resistance to come in around 121.39 and also look for support around 120.10 for this pair. that about does it for the chart. Something I am looking at. I'm not necessarily trading this at the moment, but something I'm just keeping an eye on. If you draw your trend lines, and that's not very good, but if you draw your trend line straight, you'll find that you could possibly go short or long at these points. You have these highs that could be possible resistance areas if you're going for a long trade. If you're going short, you have potential support that you could run into for this trade. You're about 100 pips away from either one, roughly, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Just something I'm looking at right now. Looking at the news, we had the CPI for the Swiss. It was lower than expected at negative 0.7% from 0.5%. Now, year to date, it's dropped from 2.6% down to 1.5%, which is really good news for the Swiss. Now, looking ahead, we have the Eurozone retail sales for October being released. Consensus is that it has dropped yet again from negative 0.2% down to negative 0.4%. That's being released at 5 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. Year to date, though, it looks like it's dropped. Consensus is that it has dropped from negative 1.6 down to negative 1.4%, which would be negative news, of course, for the euro. Looking ahead, we have the Reserve Bank of New Zealand releasing their rate decision at 3 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. Consensus is they're going to drop rates from 6.5% down to 5%. That's a very large move. So you definitely should take a look at the New Zealand dollar pair and the New Zealand Japanese yen pair for that. And remember that most people, sell the rumor and basically buy on the news. And we saw that today in the Australian dollar. It actually ended up, even though they dropped rates, and overall it should move lower. The Australian dollar, though, has their trade balance for October being released at 7:30 p.m. No consensus at that time for that particular move. Well, that about does it for today. Until tomorrow, this is Jason Fielder. Good trading.